It feels like every single day there's a new headline about how AI is changing the world. But what's actually happening inside companies right now? Well, let's cut through all that hype and look at a major global survey to see how organizations are really using AI, where they're getting wins, and why, for so many, the big AI revolution isn't, well, paying off just yet. Okay, first up, let's just talk about the sheer scale of this. A massive 88% of organizations now say they're using AI in at least one part of their business. And get this, that's way up from just a year ago. So AI isn't coming, it's here. And it's pretty much everywhere. Okay, but that just leads to a huge question, right? If nearly everybody is using AI, why aren't we seeing these massive, game-changing financial results across the board? Why does it feel like for most companies, the promised revolution is still kind of buffering? That's really the big mystery we're going to dig into today. And that brings us right to our first section, the AI adoption paradox. We're talking about the gap between doing AI and actually getting real enterprise-level value from it. And believe me, it is a wide gap. So check this out. While AI adoption is super wide, it's also incredibly shallow. Nearly 2/3 of companies are still just tinkering, experimenting, or running small pilots. They're basically stuck in what people are calling pilot paralysis. They just can't seem to make that leap from a cool little test to scaling AI across the whole company. So where are the wins? What's actually working? Well, mostly in what you'd call the soft stuff. I mean, a solid 64% say it's helping with innovation, and about half are seeing better customer satisfaction. But when you look at the hard numbers, the actual bottom line, only 39% report any impact at all. For most, the money just isn't there yet. Okay, so keeping that paradox in mind, what's the deal with the next big, shiny thing everyone's talking about? Yep, AI agents. We're talking about systems that don't just answer your questions, but can actually plan and carry out complex tasks. Are we just going to see the same story of hype versus reality play out all over again? Well, the interest is definitely there. I mean, no doubt about it. A whopping 62% of companies are already playing around with AI agents. For a technology this new, that is an incredibly fast adoption rate. It just shows you how hungry businesses are for what's next. But, and you knew there was a but coming, here's the reality check. It's the same story we saw before. The use of agents is still really limited. Even the companies that say they're scaling them are usually just doing it in one or two specific departments. Lots of people are dipping their toes in the water, but very few are actually diving in. All right, so we've laid out the problem, right? Lots of hype, not a lot of payoff. So what's the solution? And that gets us to the real heart of what we're talking about today, the high performer playbook. We're going to break down exactly what the small group of companies who are crushing it with AI are doing differently. And when I say small, I mean really small. The survey calls them AI high performers. These are the companies that can point to 5% or more of their earnings and say, yeah, AI did that. And they make up just this tiny elite 6% of organizations. So, what's their secret sauce? What are they doing that the other 94% are missing? Well, it really comes down to this 4-part playbook that's just fundamentally different from everyone else. See, they don't just use AI, they wield it with a very clear plan. They aim for massive transformation, they totally redesign how work gets done, they get leadership from the very top, and they put their money where their mouth is. Let's dig into each one. Okay, step 1, ambition. We're talking big picture thinking here. Look, most companies are using AI to, save a little time here, cut a little cost there, but the high performers, they're playing a totally different game. They are over 3 times as likely to be going for the whole shebang, to completely transform their business, not just make it a bit more efficient. Number 2, they back up that big talk with real action. And you're going to see a pattern here. That 3x number pops up again. High performers are almost 3 times more likely to fundamentally redesign their workflows. They're not just slapping a little AI onto their old, creaky processes. Nope. They're tearing it all down and rebuilding it from the ground up, with AI at the very core. Third, and this one is absolutely crucial, it comes from the top. And there it is again, that magic 3x factor. In these top companies, senior leaders are 3 times more likely to show clear ownership of AI initiatives. For them, AI isn't some side project pawned off on the IT department. No way. It's a C-suite, top-of-the-agenda strategic mission. And last but not least, number 4, investment. You got to put your money where your mouth is, right? Well, talk is cheap. Let's look at the budgets, because that's where the truth is. A full third of these top companies are pouring more than 20% of their entire digital budget into AI. That is a serious, serious commitment that matches their huge ambitions. Okay, so all this talk of transformation and redesigning workflows, it obviously brings up a huge question about people. What does this all mean for jobs? What does it mean for the workforce? And the answer is, well, it's really complicated. Yeah, when you ask what's going to happen to jobs, you get, well, pretty much no consensus at all. The answers are all over the map. You've got 43% saying, no big change. Then you have 32% who think the workforce will shrink. But then, get this, 13% think they're actually going to hire more people because of AI. And this is where we see another one of these fascinating paradoxes. So on one hand, you have almost a third of companies expecting their total number of employees to go down. But on the other hand, a majority of those very same companies were hiring like crazy for new AI roles last year, especially for software and data engineers. So it's not a simple story of robots are taking the jobs. It's a story of workforce transformation. Some jobs go away and completely new ones are being created. So how on earth do you manage all this change? How do you close that gap between the big AI dream and the messy reality on the ground? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is how these companies handle risk. You know, as AI gets more serious, so does risk management. Think about it. Just a couple of years back, companies were maybe tracking 2 big risks. Today, that number's doubled to 4. And the things they're worried about are probably what you'd guess. Is the AI accurate? What about privacy? Are we complying with regulations? And the big one, can we even explain how it works? Okay, but this next part might just be the most surprising, counterintuitive takeaway from this whole thing. Those top 6%, the AI high performers, they actually run into more problems with AI, not less, more. They deal with more compliance issues, more IP infringements. So what's the difference? They're also way more proactive about fixing those problems. The lesson here seems to be, if you want to get real value, you have to push the limits. You have to expect things to break, and you have to be obsessed with managing the fallout. Playing it safe just gets you stuck. And that really brings us to the final big picture question. When you look at all this data, the path forward is actually crystal clear. The huge gap between the winners and everyone else isn't about if you use AI. It's all about how you use it. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Is your organization building an AI engine for genuine transformation, or are you just tinkering with a new toy?